which has the abide or the abode of peace, Dar as-Salam. The greetings of Muslims as shared with you guys also, like in Shalom, is the same as Salam. So it's in the prayers, we pray at 5 times a day and other voluntary prayers. Every time when you leave your prayer, you remember this word on the right and the left. You give salam to everywhere around you, and you cannot leave prayer unless you say this salam on your right and on your left. So salam is something, as you see in these narrations I'm going to tell you, is something to the core. It's not something like you achieve the oneness of God and then the peace part, this peace, this mercy is something secondary. Actually, you will find that it goes hand in hand with the first component. It's not less than the first component. It has to do with it. And here is what we understand from as I would recite to you some verses today. Peace, in the following point I want to focus, is not a word that doesn't have synonyms. It has synonyms. And peace has, the main synonym of peace, as I understand, is justice. So you would never find any peace if there is no justice. And you have to achieve justice, which is also if you want to say mercy, justice, peace, this is how we should be in everywhere around us. If you see that, if we come to read the text, how God is asking us to deal with others, with everyone around you, your neighbor, your friend, everyone, even if you are against him, if you even don't like him, how God is asking you to deal with him. I would have the experience, I give you some like more, if this would not offend you in any way, to recite the Arabic Quran. Do you like to listen to that? Okay. Before I translate. So in chapter 4, verse 135, God says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين. So all you who have believed, be persistently standing firm in justice, witness for Allah, even if it be against yourselves or parents or relatives. Stands firm to just, even if it's against yourself, parents or relatives. You'll find also chapter 5, verse 8, God also says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. So God, He says also, all you who have believed, be persistently standing firm for Allah, witness in justice, and do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being just. Be just, that is nearer to righteousness, and fear Allah. Indeed, Allah is acquainted with that you do. He knows what you do. If we go again, the last quote I'm having today, with the general rule that would give every Muslim the key to deal with any other religion. And this is how we really believe. Towards every other religion whatsoever. And this is what God is ordering us to be with them. How to deal with them. And the word you will see, you will hear me saying the word birr. Anta barruhum. You have to be birr, deal with birr with them. What does birr mean? Birr is the highest standard of nice treatment you would ever imagine. It's used here in the Quran just with the parents. how you also how to treat your parents in the state, in the same way of birr. So this word has a lot to, you would never get paradise except if you have this birr to people. And here is God is ordering us to have this birr with any other religion, provided that if they are, as long as they are not doing any kind of injustice to you, you have to be this kind of birr relationship with them. Listen to this verse, please. لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم إن الله يحب المقسطين. So Allah does not forbid you from those who do not fight you because of your religion and do not expel you from your homes, from being righteous towards them and acting justly towards them. Indeed, Allah loves those who act justly. Again and again, this is the key of peace that I'm having, and this is the key that we all need to have, that to have this mercy, this peace, this kind of, I would say, justice, everything, to be just to every creation around you. Also, this is from the Quran. I have some narrations of the Prophet, peace be upon him, he talked about the story of a woman who locked a cat. And this woman did not permit, the woman locked in the cat, and she didn't permit the cat to go and eat from outside, and she didn't feed the cat until the cat died. And Prophet, peace be upon him, said that she deserved to be in hellfire because of this. He spoke about someone who is committed to the oneness of God. She is worshiping God, but she had this act that doesn't show any mercy to the creation of God. Another narration of another woman, actually, who was a prostitute. And even the Prophet said, was in the nation before you, one of the prostitutes among the children of Israel. He said that she actually saw a dog was too thirsty. Actually, he's pulling his tongue out and licking the dirt out of thirsty. And she went into a well with one of her shoes, got some water from the well, and she watered that dog. His Prophet said that God forgiven her. She's not doing good. She's a prostitute. And Prophet said God forgave her and admitted her to paradise. Prophet one time is asked by his companion, and he said, some companions came to him, and they mentioned about a woman who is bad to the neighbors. He told, and sorry of all my stories today are about women, but this is how it came. Anyhow, so they told him, we know this woman who is actually fasting, praying, she's doing everything good to God, but she is harming her neighbors. She is harming her neighbors. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, she is in hellfire. Again, they asked him about another woman who is actually fasting, praying, everything as she is actually, sorry for that, she's not that good in voluntary actions, rituals. She's barely praying the 5 times a day and the mandatory fasting. The other one was doing voluntary, more acts of worship, but she's harming her neighbors. And she's in hellfire. This one is barely doing nothing actually, just the mandatory things. And she's good to her neighbors. Then Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said she is in paradise. She deserved to be in paradise. She's fulfilling that other component. We need today also to understand Islam from the people who understand Islam. So I hope that everyone reads, if you want to understand Islam, read the Quran. you can come to the mosque, ask the imam, ask us anytime. I'm happy to be here to give this message, because we're tired of others in the media and elsewhere giving the wrong message about Islam. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Shalom alaikum.
Shalom.
I said this right.
You got it.
It's not too far. We say salam alaikum, so we don't go too far from here.
Cousins, it's easy.
Of course. I just want to start because so many people here that I recognize, and I want to start with some people that I haven't seen in some time. Mr. Dinkin, I haven't seen him in some time. Mr. Dinkin was the 6th grade teacher for our 3 sons. So I really appreciate and his recitations. So on behalf of our 3 sons, thank you. I'm sure they did say that. And I do recognize many of the faces that I worked with here in the community before I started. I see Robert Saracen. I worked with him in the ACLU, and I saw Bill Redfield, I saw Beth Broadway, I saw Charlie from the Interfaith Works, and I saw Sandy Lane before from Acts right here. And who else am I missing? I saw Andy from Central New York working for Just Peace in Palestine, Israel. And of course I see Elaine Rubenstein, and I see many of my friends here, old friends from working in Summit, Syracuse area, Middle East Dialogue, of course. Jean Burley was there before my time, and I also saw Alex Holstein here also was in Summit before my time. I know that Marilyn Pinsky comes here, and I know Minabak also. So many of you I worked with before. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I don't want to offend anybody, but I feel I know some of you, and I worked with some of you before. One of the people I worked with who's no longer here, Martin Sage. Martin, I had a special relationship with him. With Martin, the last time I saw Martin Sage was here on January 29th. Remember what happened on January 29th on Temple Concord? That was the Interfaith Harmony, the Harmony Day, the Harmony Assembly that happened here on January 29th. And of course, there were many people here dancing on the floor, and they said many religions, they had introduced themselves, introduced their culture here on this stage. I had also it happen. My son was here. He was a substitute for a person who was supposed to be here. So we just got him a couple of hours before. We told him, Ashraf, just come and say a few things. So he made up a few things before coming. With Martin, on that day, on January 29th, I spent about half an hour with him outside in the hall, and we talked about many things. Mostly there were 2 articles that were in the paper that morning. One about Islamophobia, and he was saying how this thing's happening and all of these people talking about this and that shouldn't happen. I had many discussions with Martin before in Summit about, of course, the area, the Israel-Palestine, and about what's happening to the Muslims and the Jews here. And the other article was, I wrote an article that day about what's happening in Egypt after the Arab Spring, and we also had a discussion about this. We were supposed, Magda and I were supposed to go to Egypt a few days afterwards, and with Martin, we said that when I come back from Egypt, we'll have a long discussion about what I saw, and I will talk to Samit and to him. He really was very interested about what's happening there. Martin told me that he was in Israel in 1978 when Sadat visited Israel at the time and was in Jerusalem, and the high hopes that he had and how people reacted to the visit of Sadat to Jerusalem at the time, and how the hopes of peace were high, and what happened since then from 78 until now, and the things that we were going through And we were going to discuss this after I come back. I got the news when I was in Egypt that he passed away, and I was really saddened by it. And when we came back, we did discuss Egypt in Summit, but Martin wasn't there. I miss Martin. He was my friend. So I really miss him, and I don't see Gloria here. My condolences go to Gloria. I'm mentioning this not just because of Martin, because that leads into what I want to say and what Imam Yasser talked about our shared values and the commonalities that we have in our religions, in both our religions, and what we agree or disagree on. When I was reading a few things, I came across something that it was very interesting to me. I decided to just bring it here and read it, and the rabbi can correct me. I know halacha, right? Am I pronouncing? Halacha. I'm pronouncing this right. And I was intrigued when I read what it means. And I got something, but you have to understand, I got this from Judaism 101. So it might not be exactly the right thing, but the rabbi is going to correct me. The explanation, and here I want you to hear this, Imam Yasser, and tell me what this reminds you of. Judaism is not just a set of beliefs about God, man, and the universe. Judaism is a comprehensive way of life, filled with rules and practices that affect every aspect of life. What you do when you wake up in the morning, what you can and cannot eat, what you can and cannot wear, how to groom yourself, how to conduct business, who you can marry, how to observe the holidays and Shabbat, and perhaps most important, how to treat God, other people, and animals. This set of rules, as you all know, halakha. Is that a correct explanation? Yeah. If I tell Imam Yasser, what is this? If we hear this, we hear there is another word that we say for exactly the same thing, which is Sharia. If I take the word halakha out and I put Sharia in here, I don't have to change many things, except the Shabbat. I probably will make it Jum'ah or something. Probably not exactly the same thing. But it really, as Imam Yasser just talked about the animals and how we really have this talked about God and the oneness of God. And many of this, I don't have to change much in this definition. I was also intrigued by what it means, where this is coming from. It says halakha is usually translated as Jewish law, although a more literal and more appropriate translation might be the path that one walks. The path that one walks. If I also look at the word Sharia, it's also the path that is taken to water, or that goes to a water well. I was really intrigued by this, because this is probably, is this clear understanding? And that's the right understanding, am I correct? So Sharia is the same thing. It's the law. It's a different law. And I will read a verse also from the Quran. I'm not going to read Imam Yasser's. I can't read as good as he reads. So I'm just going to read the English part, English translation. I'm not going to try to compete with him there. From the Quran, it says, "To each among you we have prescribed a law and a clear way. If God had willed, he would have made you into one nation. But he willed not, in order that he may test you in what he has given you. Strive then to excel each other in good deeds. The return of all of you is to God, then he will inform you about that in which you used to differ." So it's very simply, God could have made us one if he wanted to, but he didn't want to. We don't understand the wisdom behind this. We will never try to, maybe we will never understand it. But God said this specifically. And he made laws for every one of us, for every nation. So we have to strive with one another to compete. And at the end, God is the only one who's going to judge us. I want to say that our religions, instead of being a source of division, could become a basis for unity, or at least a source of our understanding and accepting one another. At the same time, it would be inaccurate for me, or it would be naive from me, not to recognize the real differences that do exist, and that years of conflict generated among some intense hatred, bitterness, and mistrust. It's a reality. If we understand each other's points of view, if we get to understand each other's point of view and talk to one another, and we can understand each other's fears, apprehensions, our sorrows, our joys, and our values, if we do this, we'll find and we will understand that we really have more in common than what we think. And the hatred and mistrust, and we can overcome the hatred and mistrust. And we can work together and cooperate in many goals that are required by our shared values. In order to make peace, the elusive peace, our leaders have to be realistic, courageous, and have vision of how we can really have a better future for our children and for our grandchildren. One thing that happened in Syracuse University just a couple of days ago, Miriam Ellman invited us to go to, there was a Nora Baum, whoever was there, I remember just for celebration, it was called a performance by Nora Baum at Syracuse University. She is an Israeli who lived with, she dialogued with a Palestinian woman while they were living in California. They shared stories. She said stories from the Israeli point of view, from the Jewish point of view, and from the Palestinian point of view. One of the questions that was asked to her, or her response to one of the questions about how to make peace, and she said, you cannot make peace based on justice. You have to make peace based on life. And the rationale was, there are two kinds. Everyone has a claim on justice. I have the just. I know what justice is and what justice means to me. So there are two different views of looking at justice. I thought about this, and I came to remember what justice is. And I remembered a few years ago when we had discussion with Jean Burlet a few years ago, and we talked about the golden rule, if you remember, John. The golden rule, we had discussion about the different religions and the definition. It came out at the end to say, love for your brother what you love for yourself. And if we apply this, love for your brother what you love for yourself, and that's justice. I'm thinking that this is justice. Justice is probably love for your brother what you love for yourself. And if we can think about it, I think we can overcome many of the things. So I think justice can be or should be the basis for peace. The peace that should come with dignity, with security, and with freedom for all parties involved. We have to weed out the extremists from amongst us, that they don't care about others' rights or beliefs or dignity or well-being, but they only care about their points of view, and they only think that they are right and the others are wrong. Again, with mutual understanding of cooperation, what we would like to do here as a community is to work together. And I really appreciate the invitation of Rabbi Feldman, and I appreciate his leadership in the community. One of the things that we shared, and we did work here in the community in ACTS, in Alliance for Communities Transforming Syracuse. We did many things here. And in interfaith works also, we work together on many of the issues that are facing the community. And we talked about Islamophobia, which is similar to anti-Semitism. Both are ills of a society that should not happen. And I think we can both work together on eliminating the things and the ills of our society if we put our minds and hearts to it. We are all, I just want to say that we are all created by the same God, and we are all, as we all know, we're going to go back to the same one God, and He's the only one that will judge us. Again, thank you for the opportunity for us to be here. I appreciate the invitation. I appreciate your invitation, Rabbi Filmash.
So listening is good, but talking is better. Now comes our turn to ask questions, to help build our future together. The floor is yours.
Yes.
Alaikum salam.
Why not, you said? Why not Muslim leaders? I think Muslim leaders are sick and tired repeating in the media or other than the media every time that extremism is not part of Islam in any way. And explaining again all the, I say it's not coming closer, so. And this is really their word even. It's not my word that we are sick and tired saying, repeating the same words again every time. Muslims are not new aliens who are coming to America. They have been here for years and years, way before 9/11. We don't know who is even behind 9/11 till now. This is no proof even who is behind 9/11. So if you say they admitted, what I hear is no real proof there that even if they are the ones who were on the plane, though they're saying that masters, those who teach how to fly in a very low latitude, they say, the teachers themselves, I cannot do what these beginners have done. So I say, then these beginners were, there are things behind all of that. They might not have been used as puppets, I would say. Oh, you like to die, you have depression, you want to live this life and be in paradise? Oh, come on. And they are easily be deceived. And we have to be actually get everything. We have the history. We have these texts which are saying plainly what I have said. We have history. Muslims have been here, I'm saying, for many, many, many years. Have been your doctor, your whoever is around you, your neighbor. I've been telling about many, it's not only one experience, more than one experience of places here in America that policemen were not able to get into. They were not able to get into these places, but when a mosque is built there, in that very dangerous area, they tend to change the face of the whole place in that area to very peaceful people who are really cooperating with the police and helping them and very good citizens. So why are we detaching all of that in the face of the behavior of some people who came from outside? So I would say really we've repeatedly saying condemning and saying that extremism is not in any way in Islam.
If I
you
can
want
just
to add anything, yeah.
add just one thing, the message of extremist reaches easily because they're extremists. They are on the fringes. It's always said in the media, if a dog bites a man, it's okay, it's no story. But if a man bites a dog, it's a big story. And the extremism is one of these. If I say nice things and we all niceties and sitting here, it's okay. But if I just say, I want to destroy this or I want to do this, it's going to be all over the news. And you will hear about it. So the extremists, there are extremists on every side. In Palestine and Israel, there are people who say, we want to destroy the Israelis, and at the same time, we hear people say the Palestinians should get out and they have no place here. And you get people, there is even some people here say, former candidates for presidents, that they're saying there is no such a thing as Palestinian. There is an invented people. So there are people, and that makes news. So there are people that it's a message of the extremists comes very quick, will be recognized, and you will hear it. But as the Imam Yasser was saying, it's been a lot of people that are in the middle, and they say the right things, you will not hear them, unfortunately. Absolutely, 100%. Oh, I'm sorry.
The question was, are Muslim leaders speaking out against extremist Muslims?
There are websites that I wish I have the website that has thousands and thousands of people. I probably can get it and send it to the rabbi that lists from since 9/11 and before, every who's who in the Islamic world has something in there and say these events or the terrorism and extremism should not be there. Thank you. Of course, I didn't, before saying this, I didn't see Betsy's and Jim. And of course, I can't say I worked with Women Transcending Boundary because that could be, to be interpreted in a different way. My wife does. So,
Other questions?
Cindy?
Sandy, and then we'll get to David. David.
You know me.
Some part I heard, some part I didn't
I
hear.
can try to answer this if you want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think if I just try to repeat, the question is that who under a modern country, modern Islamic country or something, who can be considered a full citizen or a half citizen? I think I can talk about Egypt because I am from Egypt, and I know there is a lot of things going on there, and people talking about many things, whether this faction or that faction is going to come in and what they're going to do to the people who are not Muslim. There is, and I really was even surprised myself, anybody who is, that people thought that he's coming from an extremist or right-wing Islamist or something, that the word they call it, they all came out and said, everybody has the same rights and obligation under the law. And everybody is a full citizen under the law. There is no half citizen or second-class citizen. I think that's even being made clear right now. No one is talking about the superiority of a religion over a religion, which is very good to me to hear that this is coming from Egypt, which is in the middle of the Arab country. And whatever goes in Egypt probably will go to the rest of the Arab countries. So the upheaval that's going on is producing things that I think is very good coming out up until now. We have to wait and see, but it is really coming out good. And about the poll tax or so, there is a long discussion, but there is a tax and there is a zakah. So the Muslim who is paying zakah, and the person who is not Muslim, they're paying the poll tax. And they are, so everybody was paying a tax. It was just named differently. And at the time of one of the caliphs, at the time he said, oh, you don't like the word poll tax? Okay, let's make it zakah. Let's just pay your part of taxes because that might be demeaning. So the word jizya or poll tax was removed at some point in time. But everybody's paying and maybe a little bit different.
Also, I'd like to add here something for the what is called tax is actually zakah is mandatory for just Muslims, and for those other minority in Islamic State, for example, it's just giving them the right not to be in the army. They have the right not to be in the army because you cannot go and fight for a cause or for the majority who are there around you, and you don't want. So in Islamic State, actually, they give you the right, we are going to defend you, provided that you pay this amount of money, if you can. And we have stories when the Khalifa Umar, one of the great caliphs in Islam, when he saw one of the old Jew, is actually begging people. And he told him, why are you doing that? Because at that time, everyone who is in need takes part from the treasury. He doesn't have to pick people. And he told him, I want to pay my tax. And say, what? You want to pay your tax? And he asked the ruler of that place not to actually waive the tax away from him and to give him, support him from the Muslim treasury, give him money. So to that extent, you can drop this tax if you are provided that you can pay it, provide that we defend you. You don't have to be one member of the army. And if you want to participate in the army, then that tax is dropped also. Thank you.
We have time for just one or two more. Jan.
Thank you for being here. I must say, we've enchanted the Quran. I could hear a hot desert night in the Middle East. Each religion seems to take on something of the country that it is in. If you are in a country that has, let's say, it's still the Jews or has, let's say, Saudi Arabia, you're going to have a more rigid system. In America, it would seem, and all religions except maybe the Buddhistic, they have radicals and conservatives, and all of the conservatives may have more in common with each other in each religion than they do with the
if you want to answer.
I say something and then you add. Actually, the area we say that Islam has very basic, limited, little, fixed rules, and the majority of the rules and laws are really flexible. The majority. And it is there to accommodate any time, any place, under any circumstances. And so this up to those who are actually strong in knowledge to decide for the people in certain area these limitations that they have very flexible in order to be able all the time to really live as positive, as happy, as everything as they can, without feeling that they are really in a corner or anything like that. And in the same time, they are not violating the Sharia or the laws of God, so they are not disobedient to Him. So they live with no kind of if I live here, I have to violate or transgress my rights towards God. No, actually, it's not like that. I would say, so I don't have any contradiction. I'm living here, and I understand what to do. I'm trying to teach how really that flexibility of Islam, and I'm not saying moderation or anything like these words, but on the other hand, we also suffer from those in our communities everywhere who still have the mentality of another place and bring the verdicts of another scholars from, for example, from Saudi Arabia, and want them to be applied here. And this is how we have. It's kind of really, I would say, it's not a good thing that we find in our society when we have these few mentalities who are very conservative and want to apply the rulings of another place into this place, where Islamically it's wrong. Islamically it's wrong to try to apply the rulings of another place, of a different time, of a different place, into your own time and place and circumstances. This is as far as I know. If he wants to add anything, Brother Muhammad.
No, I will just.
I hope I didn't go. I didn't go to different areas.
Yeah.
Chucky, go ahead.
And Charlie.
which the mosque now stands. His son is sitting there up on the lever. He'll probably kill me for saying it. But you see, that makes us close. And if you find some asparagus and tomatoes growing outside the mosque, enjoy it. They're delicious.
Okay, we definitely will. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
We will continue the dialogue in the Oneg Shabbat afterwards. My thanks to both you, Yasser, and to you, Mohammed. I look forward to continuing our partnership together and to growing and creating a more peaceful community for ourselves and for all with whom we share this place.
Before, if you would allow me, we invite Rabbi Feldman to come to the Islamic Society. We will have to arrange some time. It might not be exact same thing because our prayer is different or our way of praying is different. But we invite him also to come, and I hope some of you come at different times to the Islamic Society.
For now, though.